Welcome, everybody. We are This Fan's View. Welcome to Hanrahan's Irish Pub. We are This Fan's View, and our guest tonight, Hall of Famer Ray Didinger. I know we get more of an applause for that. Anyway, hey, real quick, I won't take up a lot of time, but we lost a dear friend that used to sit in the back of the room Wednesday nights when we were here. The gentleman's name is Pete Looney. He's a Havertown guy, big supporter of the store, big supporter of the show. Just a great guy, and just I'm not sure. Yeah. I wasn't ready for it. I'm still not. But I would like everybody to raise their glass for Pete. Rest in peace, Pete, and we'll be thinking about you forever. So thank you, everybody. We are. I see we got a lot of new faces, so maybe we need to identify who I am and who John is. We know who the guest is, so but that's John to my right, and I'm Carl, and we do this every month. So we'll be back here in April. So I'll try to bring another Hall of Famer. I can't guarantee anything. So, but Ray, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. This is the. Is this the place where Rob Ellis used to be a bartender? I remember him telling me that he was working as a bartender about a year ago, and he told me he said we're right next to the Waverly. So when I came around the corner here, I said, well, this has got to be it. He spoke very well of the place. He enjoyed working here.
So he was in the store the other day trying to sell me his baseball card collection for when he was a kid. So this is totally unscripted. He may show up tonight.
Oh, okay.
Because he knows about it, and I told him, I said, come on out and support the show. So
Rob's really a good fellow. I've known him for a long time, and he really knows his stuff. I can imagine that as a boy, he probably had every baseball, football card there was to collect. He has that kind of encyclopedic memory that only a card collector could have. So I guarantee you, his card collection was pretty extensive.
He had a pretty cool shoebox. I will say that. So let's get on with the show. Again, to all the new folks, we've got a raffle that we do. We give away all of these one-of-a-kind items over here. Right around 8:15, we'll keep you here eating and drinking as long as possible because that's what Jimmy paid me to say. So, but grab your 2 free tickets if you haven't already gotten them. Henry is our resident accountant. He sells extra tickets for $1 a piece. All the money goes back to the CC charity fund, where we're always constantly doing stuff in the community and thereabouts. So know that your money's going to a good cause. But come on up. There's a beautiful Gordie Howe, Bob Clark piece up here. Probably $400 to $500 value, I want to say. So that's probably the ultimate prize, but there's also I had to bring a Tommy McDonald piece.
I noticed that first thing I saw when I came in.
So we had to be represented by Tommy. So he's looking down on us. Talk to us a little bit about the play, the show. It's coming back around. Give us all the good stuff.
Okay. Tommy and Me is the play that I wrote about my relationship with Tommy McDonald, which started when I was a 10-year-old kid with an autograph book, going up to Eagles training camp, which was then in Hershey. Tommy McDonald's my favorite player. Got his autograph, and he let me carry his helmet to the practice field. And that was the beginning of a friendship that lasted literally a lifetime. Tommy finished his career, and then I went into my career. And then I began, once I became a sports writer, doing the best I could to try and get him the one thing that he wanted more than anything in the world, which was induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That was really his dream. And it took me a while. I was knocking on the door for the better part of 15 years. But finally, in 1998, Tommy got voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and gave me the great honor of being his presenter. So it was just such really a lovely story of a little boy with his boyhood hero. Later on in life, you wind up riding in the parade at the Hall of Fame and standing on the steps of the Hall of Fame, giving the speech for his induction. That's really, you talk about dream come true. It sure was. And so I felt like it's such a nice story. I wanted to tell it. So I wrote a play for the first time in my life. I sat down and I wrote a play about it, and I called it Tommy and Me. And we debuted it in 2016, and it's been running ever since, amazingly enough. We've done it in half a dozen theaters now, and we're actually going to do it twice in 2023. We're going to do it at the Bucks County Playhouse up in New Hope. We open May the 19th, and we will run through June the 17th. So we're going to be there for a full month. And then we're going to, in September, we're going to go to the Uptown Theater in Westchester, on High Street in Westchester. And we will be there for 2 weeks doing the play. Let me ask you, have any of you seen the play? Is there anybody here that's seen the play? Oh, okay, that's a lot. Okay, well, thank you. First of all, thank you for going. I will tell you this, the play in Bucks County Playhouse, the one we're going to be doing May and June, is going to have a whole new cast. We've had the same actors really from when we started, and they've been great, and they're a good part of the reason why the play is still successful. But Bucks County Playhouse wanted to do their own version of it. And so Monday, I was up in New York at an audition. While they were auditioning a whole bunch of new actors to play the story. There were some really good actors. These are New York guys right off Broadway that came out for the audition. So for those of you that have seen the play that we're going to be doing in Bucks County, it's going to be the same play, but it's going to be all new actors. So if you're interested, I don't know what to expect. To be honest with you, it's going to seem so odd to see 4 different guys saying those lines. But having seen the audition and the caliber of the guys that came in, we're in good hands. But it's just going to be a different kind of feel, having different actors on the stage. So the Bucks County will be all new actors, but the play that we bring to Westchester in September will be the cast that you guys have seen. But hopefully one or the other, you can get up and see it, because I think you will. If you haven't seen it, you would really enjoy it. And if you have seen it, I think you'll enjoy seeing it again.
Excellent. Let's go back to the beginning, 2016. Tommy was still alive. And
Yes.
He was there to witness the play.
Yeah.
Talk us through what was his thoughts? What were his comments?
When I started writing, it took me about a year to write the play. And I didn't tell him that I was writing it until when I started writing it, I didn't know if I would finish it, because I said I had never written a play before. And I wasn't going to tell him that I was writing this play, because he would have just kept bugging me, and he would have just been bugging me every day. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? So I didn't want that. So I didn't tell him I was doing it until it was in fact done. And what we did was, the way things work in theater, If you write a play and you bring it to a director, what they will generally do is they will have what's called a reading. And what a reading is in theater is they will get actors and they will give them the script, and they will read the script to a live audience in a theater, simply to see how the audience reacts to the story. And based on the audience's reaction, then they'll decide, do we want to take the next step, which is really do it as a play, invest what we have to do, build a set, get the music, commit to spending the money to do it as a play, just based off the reaction of the audience that night when they do the reading. So we had a reading for it at Plays and Players Theater right near Rittenhouse Square. And it was a full house, and Tommy and his whole family were there. And the reading went great. It just brought the house down. And by the end of the night, the director said, we have to do this play. And so a couple months later, we did it for the first time and did 15 shows. They all sold out, 15 standing ovations. And the director said, let's do it again next year. And then it was, let's do it again next year. And let's do it again next year. And here we are, 2023, and we're doing it twice. So, I was saying to my wife earlier tonight, it would have been a great thrill if this had all happened anyway. But the fact that Tommy got to see it made it even better. Tommy passed away in 2018, but he did get to see the play. Trust me, nobody enjoyed it more than he did. He really, really had a ball.
So how tough is it when you wrote the play to actually have that reading, to be able to be judged on that one day, to be like, oh, this is whether it's going to go further than this or not? I mean, it went well for you, obviously, but just up until.
I was very nervous. I was very nervous at the reading because I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And then when we did the play for the first time, opening night was terrifying. It was terrifying. I was sitting all the way in the back, just watching the people file into the theater. And for those of you that have been to theater, you know what it's like. People file in and they sit, and there's that sort of buzz in the house. People are like talking and waiting, and I'm just sitting in the back, just holding my breath the whole time, because there were like theater critics in the house. There's a critic from Philadelphia Magazine, there's a critic from the Philadelphia Inquirer, there were critics from several online sites that were there. And I had no idea if they were going to like it or not. I'm just sitting there just thinking, they might take this play and they might just tear it to pieces. There might be guys who don't know the first thing about football, think this is the stupidest thing, somebody doing a play about football. I had no idea what to expect. But the audience reaction, the thing that helped me was fully 2/3 of the people that came in were wearing Eagle stuff. and I felt like, okay, at least 2/3 of the house is with me, okay? The other 1/3, I'm not so sure, but at least these guys I got. And it turned out great. As I said, the audience gave it a tremendous standing ovation at the curtain. And then all the reviews were just wonderful. Every critic really, really liked it. They got the story. And several of them wrote, look, I don't know football. I don't like football particularly, but I love this story of this little boy and his hero. And that's what people related to, was the humanity of the story. Whether you knew football or not, it didn't matter. It's just a story about this little boy, his hero, and both of their dreams coming true. So it worked, and it worked then, and it's still working today. And as I said, hopefully you can get up and see it either at Bucks County, which is a beautiful theater. The Bucks County Playhouse is a beautiful theater, or in September at the Uptown in Westchester. I think you will really, really enjoy it.
Maybe Jimmy Clark, we could run a bus trip out of Hanrahan's to one of those events. What do you think?
Come on, Jimmy.
That can be arranged.
I got a thumbs up, so,
That can be arranged.
yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
How important was it to you, that was last year, was up in Hershey, wasn't it?
Yes, last
So,
year.
and bringing it back to the full
Yeah.
circle, basically.
Yeah, that was, we did the play. We actually did it in Bucks County right around this time, last spring. And it went so well, they've invited us back this year. But we also did what I had always kind of wanted to do, which was bring the play to the Hershey Theater, was to actually bring the story back to where it truly started, where I first met Tommy in 1957 at Hershey. And they have a beautiful theater, the Hershey Theater. And they brought us in there for a weekend. We did a Friday night, a Saturday, 2 shows, and then a matinee on Sunday. And it was really a great thrill to be back in Hershey. And the theater is actually in the building that was the players' dormitory in the 50s. So, this truly was the story coming full circle. And one of the real treats was the Friday night show. Dick and Carol Vermeil came. And he had just finished being inducted into the Hall of Fame like a week earlier. And with all the excitement and all the things, I didn't really expect him to make the trip to Hershey to see the play, because this was the 3rd time Dick has seen it. This was the 3rd time he had come to see it. But he said, no, I want to come and see it again. So he and Carol came and saw it Friday night in Hershey. And then the final show, the Sunday show, the matinee, we had almost 1,000 people in the theater. It was the biggest crowd that had ever seen the play. And it was a glorious day. It really was a lot of fun. So hopefully you can come out and share that with us this year, either in Bucks or in Westchester.
Excellent. Hey, Lauren is out in the crowd. She has a microphone. If any questions pop up in your mind and you'd like to ask Ray, feel free to raise your hand and we'll get the mic over to you. We'd love to have some. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. You and I have a bad. No. Talk to him, Bill. He might be wearing the right jersey, but I'm just not sure. Go ahead. We'll get to you. I'm only kidding.
I haven't seen the Philadelphia Blazers jersey in a long time. That Bernie Perrant
little
Blazer.
Nostalgic, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, that Bernie Perrant Blazer jersey is a true collector's item. Anybody in the house here ever get down to the convention hall and see the Philadelphia Blazers? Anybody? Yeah, okay.
There's a couple of us old people.
More people saw Tommy and me than saw the Blazers. That's probably why the WHA didn't make it. Yeah, I was there. Were any of you there on opening night when the Zamboni fell through the ice? I was there. You tell people that now and they think you're joking,
Right.
but it's true. The Zamboni came out to resurface the ice, and it fell through the ice, and they had to call. They had to cancel the game. This was opening night at the convention hall. The Blazers did not get off to a good start.
Brian Friel, go ahead.
Ray, I'd say a couple years ago, I was listening to your show on Saturday morning with McNabb.
Yeah.
And I think you had Jeff Petrie, I guess.
Yes.
And you talked about striking him out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm sorry?
You struck him out in a echo game.
No. Wrong way. Right church, wrong pew. Jeff Petrie struck me out.
Okay. Did you know it was Jeff Petrie a big name back then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Jeff was, we were in high school then. So Jeff was, we were like seniors in high school. So everybody in Delco knew who Jeff Petrie was. I mean, he was the star basketball player, obviously. He was all-county quarterback, and he was a hell of a baseball player. And so I played against him in baseball in the Edco Senior League. and we hooked up in a pitcher's duel in the playoffs, me against him, and I pitched my butt off, and I still lost. He was really, really good. I mean, just about anything he touched, he was really good. And then, of course, he was a big star at Princeton, and then went to the NBA and had a long career in the NBA. Was Rookie of the Year. There aren't too many guys that come out of the Ivy League and are Rookie of the Year in the NBA, but he was, and then went on and had a very long career.
You should have stopped with my story and you started that. Make it look good.
No. I wish I could say that, but no. It was Springfield won that game. They beat us 2-1.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have another question.
Right over here.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, okay.
That's okay. Is he gonna allow?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna,
He's off the man.
yeah, we got the button, so.
I last year, if there was any movie development with Tommy and Dave, is there any more updates about the possible movie coming out?
The gentleman asked, "Is there any talk about doing a Tommy and me movie?" Actually, there is. Actually, there is. A gentleman named Sam Katz, some of you might know, ran for mayor of Philadelphia. He's now a documentary filmmaker, and just this past year did a film that won the Ken Burns Award as the outstanding American documentary of the year last year. And he came to see Tommy and Me in its first year. He came 2016. And after seeing the play, he said to me that night, he said, "I'm going to make a movie out of this." And so he's been working at it ever since. And he's finally gotten the investors. He's finally gotten the financing. And it's underway. He's already interviewed all of the McDonald children. And in 2 weeks, he's going to sit me down and interview me. And then we're going to go on from there and hopefully have a movie. So we'll see. We'll see.
So let me get this right. This is breaking news here at This Fan's View, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you, Ray Dinger. Thank you, Sam Katz. And you've redeemed yourself.
No, people have been talking about it for a while, asking about it. When we do the show, after every performance, there's a Q&A with the audience. And almost every night, somebody in the audience says, "This is such a great story. Why don't you make it into a movie?" And I never really talked about it because I thought it was really a long shot that we would ever get to that point. But now that Sam has gotten the investors and he's gotten his crew together and there's stuff in the can, I guess we can talk about it. So we'll see. I mean, it's still in the process, and who knows? A lot of movies start and never finish. But it is now underway, so I feel like I can probably talk about it.
So who's the actor that's going to play you?
Oh, it'll be me. It's going to be a documentary.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a documentary.
Okay.
Very good. Very, very good. Hey, real quick, as we're coming up on the 7 o'clock hour, again, I want to thank Jimmy Clark and the fine staff here at Hanrahan's for having us back. The raffle. Come up, take a look, get your free tickets. Maybe dig deep and buy some extras. There's some great items up here. So come on up. Come see my friend Emily or Henry. They've got the tickets. Feel free to dig in and let's have some fun. Lauren's raising her hand for a question. There you go. Take it away.
2 questions.
Hi, I'm just a little bit quick, so my question is also movie oriented. I'm so sorry to follow up on this last about doing more about like maybe the movie. My question was, if you were to think of all of the different athletes that you reported on over the years, what do you think is involved? So you guys are production, I get right, but they are involved in making several things.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Come a little closer.
Yeah. You got it. Right. What, of all of the Philadelphia athletes that you've reported on through the years, who would you most like to see a biographical movie be made off of it? That's an interesting story that none of us really know about, you know? Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Of all the people that I've dealt with and interviewed, who would make the best movie? Is that what you're kind of asking? Well, you can make a lot of ways to go with this one. I really think you could make a tremendous movie about Bobby Clark. I think there would be, you know, I covered his whole career, and we did, when Glenn and I, one of the, a gentleman earlier in the show referenced the weekend show that I used to do with Glenn Macnow on WIP. For a year or so during the pandemic, we, just to fill time, because there were no games being played, we created a segment called "Tell Us Your Story," and it was a 1 hour long form interview with a different subject every week, and so we got everybody from Al Michaels to George Foreman to Jay Wright to Mike Eruzione to Charlie Manuel. I mean, we really covered the waterfront. We did 108 of those interviews. But I thought one of the very best ones was Bobby Clark. And I thought that Glenn suggested it. It was Glenn's idea. So why don't we do Bobby Clark? And I said, you know, Glenn, I covered those Flyers teams. And Bobby Clark, one of the greatest players I've ever seen, for sure. But he's not a very good interview. He's just not a very good interview. He doesn't offer very much. He's kind of closed mouth. There's a lot of things he doesn't like to talk about. But Glenn said, yeah, but he's Bobby Clark. I said, okay, let's do him. We got him on the phone, and we told him it's 45 minutes interview. He said, okay. We started talking, and he was tremendous. He was great. All the stuff he never talked about when he was a player, he felt like he could talk about now. And I started off with the most simple question. I said, what was it like growing up in Flin Flon, Manitoba? And he started talking about what it was like to be a kid in Flin Flon, Manitoba, where there was a zinc mine, and there was a skating rink, and there was nothing else. And he said, if you're a 13, 14-year-old boy, you had two choices. You could either work in the mine or you could play hockey. And he said, I didn't want to work in the mine. So he said, that's how I became a hockey player. His father worked in the mine. And he said that a couple summers, he worked in the mine with him. And he said, I made him, I was not going to live down there. I was not going to spend my life down there. He had a description that I'll never forget. He said, in the morning you would get in this elevator and it would lower you down into the mine. And he said, every morning I felt like I was being lowered into my grave.
Wow.
And that is literal truth. I mean, they had cave-ins up there a lot. They had neighbors who died in there. I mean, Clark talked about going to their funerals of guys that his father worked with. That was the life in Flin Flon. So when we all talk about how hard Bobby Clark played and what a ferocious competitor he was, and how much desire he had as a player, and those of you that are old enough that you remember watching him play, there was something driving that guy for sure. And what it was, I don't want to go back to the mines. And so we spent about 45 minutes talking about his career, and it was incredible. It was really, really incredible. I wish he had told us all those stories back when I was still writing for the paper. I would have loved to have written them. But in terms of what would be a great, compelling life story to bring to the screen, That would be a very good one.
Very interesting.
Robert Earl Clark.
That's the one. That is the one. He was an amazing player. He really, really was an amazing. And in addition to being diabetic, I mean, when he came out of juniors, most of the NHL teams were afraid to draft him because he had juvenile diabetes, and a lot of the teams thought there's no way he's going to be able to play in the NHL. I mean, he'll just burn out in a year or two. And there was a doctor up there that said, no, if he takes his medicine, if he takes his insulin, he can play. And, well, it turned out that he had a pretty good career, I'd say.
Exactly.
We have another question in the audience.
Hi, who would you like to play you in the movie?
Well, my wife, who's sitting over there, she's already picked out the person. Her vote is for Bradley Cooper.
There you go.
Hey, listen. On my best day, I am not half of Bradley Cooper.
I see the resemblance.
But that's in terms of wish fulfillment. That's what my wife's working on. Hey, listen, he's enough of an Eagles fan. I mean, he is such a crazy Eagles fan that if he got wind of this project, I mean, who knows? He might sign on. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's done with NFL Films. I mean, he's done some stuff with NFL Films, narrating and voicing over things about the Eagles. Anything about the Eagles, I mean, he's not like jumping on the bandwagon type stuff. I mean, he's legit. I mean, he is a true Eagles fan. Yeah. And he was in Arizona. He was there suffering along with everybody else.
Laurie? Questions, comments? You good? Trivia time? Let's give away some free t-shirts.
Free t-shirts?
Free t-shirts. We're not fanatic. We don't shoot them into the crowd, so you're gonna have to earn them.
As a reminder, if you know the answer, just raise your hand. The first person to raise their hand will come to you with the mic, and you're going to chance the answer.
All right, so in what year did Ray get inducted into the Hall of Fame?
1995.
That is correct.
Wow. That's very good. You're cheating.
They get tougher. They all know the study up.
Okay.
It gets tougher from here.
Go ahead. Let's
All
have
right.
it, big guy.
Let's have it. All right, so how many Emmys did Ray win? Oh, nobody's rushing now. They're all rushing to their phones, though.
Johnny, you stumped the crowd.
I did. They're all rushing to their phones now to check it out. Between 1 and 6. 4.
4?
That's a good guess.
All right.
Good guess.
There you go.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
What's that?
4?
No.
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 Wow.
Oh, there's one side. I like this.
I wasn't even ring.
Not 4, not 5. I've been fun. I have been very, very fortunate to win 6 of them. Yes.
Which ones?
I'm sorry.
For what ones?
Won 3 of them for the very first project I worked on at NFL Films called Football America, which was a film that we did for Turner Network back in '98. We won for I won for director, won for film editing, and I won for writing. And then I won for working on the HBO show Inside the NFL one year. And then I won twice for the show NFL Films Presents. We got voted the best series, best syndicated sports series twice when I was there. So you know, if you work at NFL Films, the people you work with are so good, and the quality of the work that the company puts out is so extraordinary that you're going to wind up with an Emmy. You know, I mean, some of those years I felt like the punter on a Super Bowl team. You know, like I got a ring like everybody else did, but you know, I wasn't exactly the guy that won it for you. But you know that they built an amazing institution at NFL Films, and they've been doing what they've been doing since 1963, which is 60 years now, and they're still the best at what they do. I mean, they are the best sports cinematographers in the world, and it was a privilege to work with them for 13 years.
So along with Hall of Fame, you can now write award-winning 6 Emmys. So you got that inscription there, Big Al? You got that? Lauren?
All right, so we do a segment for each live show called the Mattis Minute, and it's basically just 10 questions. If you have a one answer, or if you have a really good story based off it, feel free to tell it, but otherwise it's just meant to be like a one answer type question, and they're just funny sort of questions.
Gotcha.
All right, so the first one, assuming football is number one, what is your second favorite sport to watch and follow?
Hockey. I mean, there's no sport that I don't like. Well, you know, I'm not crazy about soccer, but that's okay. I don't really like baseball, but honestly, to sit back and watch something as a sport, I really do like hockey. I just wish the team here was better.
Is it true your cell phone ringtone is fly equals fly?
I don't have a cell phone.
If you're starting a team and could only choose one in their prime, who would you pick between Harold Carmichael, Mike Quick, or AJ Brown?
I would probably deploy. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I would probably take Harold because he's unique. I mean, there's never been a receiver like him, 6'8", and never gets hurt. Played every game, and still to this day, I mean, he's been gone from the field for 40 years, and he still holds the team record for touchdowns, catches, yards. And it took forever to get him in the Hall of Fame, but thank goodness it finally happened. So that's fast company there. But if I had to pick one, I would take Harold.
If you had to pick only one, Rocky or Invincible?
The movie or the?
I'm just reading the questions. So you can take that however you like.
Well, no. I'm out here in Delaware County, so I know this is Vince Papale country, but we did when Glenn Macnow and I actually did a book a number of years ago called The Ultimate Book of Sports Movies, where we ranked all the sports movies that had been made 1 through 100, our top 100, and we picked Rocky number 1.
Yeah. Is it true Howie Roseman has your number on speed dial for advice?
Howie does check in with me now and again, mostly by email. We're in touch by email.
In your opinion, who is the greatest Eagles player of all time? Pick one before 1965 and one after.
Before 65, it would be Chuck Bednarik. And post 65, it would be Reggie White.
Which stadium did you prefer going to the most for football? Franklin Field, the Vet, or the Link?
Franklin Field. I mean, but that's where I grew up. You know, I think, and anybody here, you understand, the things that you associate with your childhood are always special to you. So Franklin Field is special to me, and always will be. And I still think, to this day, it might be the best stadium in the country to watch a football game. It's really, I think it's unique, and I will always love Franklin Field. Thank goodness it still stands.
Is it true you only wear Kelly green around the house?
No, that's a slight exaggeration.
Who was a better football head coach, Rich Cote or Frank Kinnear?
I will say this. Greg Kinnear did a very good job as Dick Vermeil. He was really on. I was on the set of Invincible for the better part of a week, and it was almost eerie sometimes when Kinnear would walk by me in his coaching attire. I mean, he looked so much like Vermeil in 1976. It was just uncanny. And I'm not so sure that as a coach, he might not have been better than Coach Type 2.
All right, and the last one. Be honest, have you ever done a Merrill Reese impression at parties?
No. No. For two reasons. Number one, I like Merle far too much to try and imitate him. And number two, I'm not just very good at imitation. So for that reason, I leave that to Joe Conklin.
And that's about his minute. Thank you.
I'm not sure. Yeah, give it up. How about it? Come on. Did Billy make it here tonight, or is he still coaching softball? Okay, so that's our good friend Bill Mattis. He puts this together, and we have a lot of fun with it. And I think Ray appreciated some of those questions.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
I may send you a couple emails for further explanations. Since
okay.
I can't call you.
That's okay. The greatest, the question about the greatest is, I get asked that a lot, and it's Bednarik to me is a once in a lifetime kind of player. I mean, for those of you you have to be of a certain age to have seen him play or to know who he was or what he did. But if you can imagine a guy playing 60 minutes of a game as a center and a linebacker and never leaving the field, just remarkable. And to be doing it at the age of 35, even more remarkable. The 1960 championship game against the Packers, Bednarik was on the field for 139 of the 142 plays. And he was, at 35, he was the oldest guy on the field and never left the field and made the tackle on the final play of the game to save the game, to win the world championship. That's extraordinary. And that's the kind of stuff that Bednarik did. So I think he's number one. But of the Super Bowl era guys, it's got to be Reggie. You know, Reggie's the best defensive end I've ever seen. I mean, Deacon Jones was great. Gino Marchetti was great. Bruce Smith, Mike Strahan. I mean, there's some really good ones. But Reggie was really in a class by himself.
Questions out there, anybody? Come on. You got it. Here we go. We got an arm up out there. There's one.
All right, we have two.
We got two.
Ray, I apologize for coming here to call me. I actually went to see you. I also did the problem. What would you tell me, what's the best story about going to St. James and Chester?
St. James and Chester?
The
Yes,
best story about going to
What's the
St.
best-
James.
Oh, best story from St. James? Oh, jeez. Yeah, I guess, I went to St. James, graduated in 64. The thing that I remember was I had two really good English teachers, John Mooney and Donald Bell, who had a lot to do with the way I've lived my life. I mean, they were the two guys, they were my English teachers, and they were the ones that told me, you know, I think you could probably do this writing thing if you really applied yourself to it. In terms of a story, when I was a sophomore, St. James instituted for the first time a school-wide essay contest. Like, all the guys in the school could write an essay and submit it, and then it would be judged, and then there'd be an essay contest winner. They had never done that before. So when I'm a sophomore, they announced we're going to have our first St. James High School essay contest. So Mr. Bell was my teacher, and Mr. Bell said, "You're going to enter this contest." And I said, I'm really not that interested. It just felt like more homework to me, is really all. And he said, "No, you are going to enter this contest." So, okay, I enter the contest, I write the essay, I turn it in. A week later, they come on the public address system in the school, and the principal announces, we'll finish the judging of the essay contest, and this year's winner is Raymond Dittinger. And I thought, wow, how about that? So like 3 days later, there was a student assembly. The whole student body is there. And I was called up to the stage and I was given my prize. I still remember my prize. It was a $25 savings bond, a record player, and a Bobby Darin album. Why? I have no idea. But anyway, that was the prize. But the thing was, it was like, wow, this is a whole school contest and I won. So it really kind of, in my mind, thought, you know what, maybe he's right. Maybe this is what I'm meant to do. Well, I went back for my 25th year reunion. And I go back for my 25th year reunion and I see Mr. Bell. Now, of course, I am years into my career and being a writer and all that stuff. So I said, "Hey, Mr. Bell, I got to tell you that when you made me enter that essay contest and I won, that was really a big moment in my life. I mean, that's really kind of what helped me decide, you know what, I'm going to do this. So that was really important. I want to thank you for that." And he says, "Well, all right, enough years have passed. I guess I can tell you the truth." He said, because I'm saying to him, it's the whole school. It's the whole school. Yeah, it's the whole. And he said, only 3 guys entered that. He said, and he saw, I guess he saw in my face that it was like, oh, gee. And then he said very quickly, he said, "Yeah, but you did win." So, yeah, in terms of my St. James moments, that's probably number 1.
Hang on 1 second. I got Lauren out there. You're next.
Right, you had such a close relationship with Tommy Chicago and all. Could you think of another reporter, maybe somewhere else in the country, that had a relationship with a player as close as you had with Tommy?
Not like that. Not like that. Not that you met him when you were 10 years old. And for 7 years, you carry his helmet to the practice field. And then later on in life, when he retires and you become a journalist, that you can work to try and give him the thing he always wanted, which is the Hall of Fame. And then he asks you to be his presenter. And there you are on the steps of the Hall of Fame with him on his biggest day. I don't know. I don't know of another story like it, which is why I wrote the play. I really do think it's a one-of-a-kind story. And the best part about it is it's 100% true. Everything you see on the stage is exactly what happened.
Great question. You're up.
Who is your favorite player from each of the teams the Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers that you interviewed?
That I've interviewed? I would say probably from the Eagles, because I've covered them for 50 years. I've interviewed hundreds of guys. If I'm saying the Eagles, my favorite interview would probably be Vermeil. Not a player, the coach, but I just think he is such a unique person and has such a unique character that he's unlike anybody I've ever known in sports, coach or player, in terms of his dedication and the loyalty that he shows to his players and they to him. Vermeil would be number 1 for the Eagles. If I had to pick a player, I'd probably say Jaworski, because I thought Jaworski was a guy who I respected because win or lose, he always faced the music. A lot of guys are there when they win, but they're not there when they lose, And Ronnie was a guy that he understood as the quarterback, he had to be the guy who had to answer all the tough questions. And he never shied away from that, and I respected that. On the Flyers, it would probably be Clark. A great player and the most amazing team leader I've ever seen in terms of just, follow me kind of guy. I've never seen anybody quite like Clark. So that would be him. Basketball would be Dr. J. I thought that Dr. J handled fame better than almost any athlete I've ever seen. At his time, he was Jordan before Jordan, And if you traveled with that team, everywhere you went, the hotel was full of people, and they were there to see Dr. J. When you went to the arena, there were people filling the doorways to see Dr. J. He must have signed 400 autographs in a typical day, and I never saw him refuse anybody. He was a complete gentleman. I think he understood that in a lot of ways he was the face of the NBA back then, because he was sort of pre-Magic and pre-Bird, and I think he felt like he had to be, in addition to being a great player, he had to be a great ambassador for the game, and he took that responsibility seriously, and he wore it very well. And for baseball, baseball players are hard to deal with. I'll be honest with you, they really are. Of all the athletes I had to cover, baseball players were the hardest. They really were. As a group, they're not easy to get along with. And that Phillies team of the late '70s into the '80s was particularly that way. They were a great team to watch because they were so good, but they were hard to cover because they were pretty unpleasant. But on the occasions when I did get to talk to, I thought Mike Schmidt was an interesting guy, and I had one of the most fun interviews I ever had was in 1995, I guess. It was the year that Schmidt and Ashburn went into the Baseball Hall of Fame together. They both went in together. And the Daily News, I was still at the Daily News then, and they asked me to do a piece sitting the two of them down and just interviewing them about their careers on the eve of Cooperstown. And so I got 2 hours alone with Schmidt and Ashburn to talk to them about their careers. And it was one of the most fascinating interviews I ever did, to see these two all-time great players sitting there talking about their careers and talking about baseball and how much they loved the game and what this all meant. And I'm the only one, and it's all for me. This is all going on there, and they're having this great conversation, and I'm just sitting there taking it all in. I've done thousands of interviews, but that's one of my favorites because they were so good. And the thing that came across to me was how much they loved the game of baseball. And it's a funny thing about Schmidt because those of you, well, everybody here, you all watched Schmidt's career. He was a guy who never seemed to enjoy playing the game. He was a guy that always seemed like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. One time, when I was working on that story, I went back to the photo archives at the Daily News, and I went through. You can imagine how many photographs we have of Mike Schmidt, right? And I went through them all. Try to find one where he's smiling.
Yeah.
Honest to God, you'd go through these. Every single one of them, he's got this real stoic. You never see him looking happy playing. I never saw a guy who was so good at what he did look like he enjoyed it less. And that day when I was talking to him, I said that to him. And he told me a story that made sense. He said that he wasn't, I don't want this to come off like he was being critical of his father. But what he said, my father was very tough on me growing up. And he said, I'll always remember when I was in Little League, he said I had a game where I went 4 for 4, drove in the winning run, blah, blah, blah. But there was a play in the field where I threw a ball away. And the whole drive home, all my father talked about was, how in the world could you throw that ball away? And it just made sense to me that was probably something that was in the back of his mind his whole career. That no matter how good I do, it's not quite good enough. But at this time, when I interviewed him, when he was getting ready to go into the Hall of Fame, like all of that had been relieved. Like all of that pressure was gone. He had proven that he was the best. So he could finally kind of sit back and enjoy his career. And it was really fun to see him that happy and that reflective, because he was that good. When I wrote that piece for the special, the Hall of Fame special, I went back and I looked at his numbers, and what I came away with was that, he was better than I even thought he was. I think those of us who watched him every night, you almost took him for granted. He was so great, you kind of took him for granted. When I looked at his statistics, here's the one that jumped out at me. 10 Gold Gloves, we know that. Okay, 3 MVPs, we know that. 548 homers, got it. Here's the one that blew me away. You know how many times he led the National League in home runs? Led the National League. He was the National League's leading home run hitter in his career. 8 times. 8 times he led the National League in home runs. That's more than anybody. More than Barry Bonds, more than Stargell, more than... The only one player in baseball history led his league in home runs more, and that was Babe Ruth. Led the American League 10 times with the Yankees. In the National League, Schmidt is alone at 8. That was the number that blew me away. So yeah, that interview with he and Whitey, and watching Whitey needle Schmidt, which he enjoyed doing, that was really a fun 2 hours.
What do we got? Another question? Here we go.
I just recently watched a documentary on Bill Russell. I don't know if you had opportunity to interview him or had interactions with Bill Russell at all. Do you have any type of stories about Bill and what he did on and off the court?
You're talking about Bill Russell, the basketball player, not the shortstop, right? Who was also not a bad player. No, Russell, the only time I dealt with Russell was, it was well after his playing career, and he was at that time he was a broadcaster, and I interviewed him. I was doing a big piece about Larry Bird for the paper, and I was talking to people around the Celtics about how great Bird was and how would he compare Bird to players of his era, and so I interviewed Bill Russell for that. It was just one time, but he was a perfect gentleman. I know he had a reputation of being kind of difficult.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, and that was what I had heard too, and he was actually very nice. He was actually very, very nice. And great player. I remember, I'm old enough that I actually did see him and Wilt play against each other. I did see that whole Warriors-Celtics era, and that was pretty special.
All right, we're winding down. I believe Lauren has a question.
So I just want to, thoughts on this year's Eagles team after coming off, obviously losing the Super Bowl, what your thoughts are on what they've done so far in the offseason, what it's going to look like for the year ahead?
Yeah. Oh boy.
Will they get back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Everybody in the place right now. Have you gotten over the Super Bowl yet?
No.
I haven't either. That was a bitter loss. They should have won, and they know it. And they have to live with that now. If you're up 10 points at halftime in a Super Bowl, you just don't lose. And I got to give credit to Andy Reid. That was the best 30 minutes of coaching in his lifetime. I mean, he's had a great career, and he's going to go in the Hall of Fame regardless of what happens now. But, I mean, that was the best 30 minutes of coaching he's ever done, was what he did in the second half of that game. I mean, he pushed every right button. And it was a great game. Went right down to the end. But if you score 35 points, you should win.
Plus, had the best quarterback on the field.
And Hurts played great. But at where they are right now, Lauren, you knew by the way football works today that they weren't going to be able to keep the team together. Free agency, you're going to lose a lot of players, and they have. They've lost 7 starters. But they've got a good team, and they've got a great young quarterback, and that's a good place to start. They got the draft coming up. They got 2 first-round picks. I expect that Howie Roseman's probably going to trade one of them to get multiple picks because they've got 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and then nothing till the 7th. So they're dead in 4, 5, and 6, and that's not Howie's kind of draft. I mean, he's going to make some deals to get picks in rounds 4, 5, and 6. Because there are good players there. I mean, Jason Kelsey is a 6th-round pick. Harold Carmichael is a 7th-round pick. They're good players on day 3 of the draft, and you got to be in position to grab some of them. So, they know what they have to address, but they've got really good. They have some work to do on defense, but they've got a real good offense. I mean, Hurts is really good. I think he's only going to get better. Brown and Smith are terrific receivers. Goddard is already one of the best tight ends. And even though you lost Sayamalo, you still have a very good offensive line. So they're going to move the ball and they're going to score points. And they've got some work to do on defense. But, if you look around the NFC, who scares you out there?
Right.
And I mean, the Cowboys, they've done okay. And they'll beat the Cowboys, but I like the Eagles better. The Giants are getting better, but the Eagles are still better. There's nobody in the North. Now that Rodgers is gone, there's really nobody in the South. And you got the 49ers, who have a really good team, but they don't have a quarterback. So the Eagles are sitting in a pretty good spot right now. I still think even with the losses, I still think they're the best team in the NFC.
Right now.
But now they just got to go out and prove it.
Johnny, what do you got?
I got just one question for Ray. What was it like this year, spending time with your son, watching the games? Because you said, with your retirement, you get a chance to do that. So how special was that, with your family as well?
Yeah, it was great. I had never actually watched an Eagles game with my son until this year, because he's a cameraman for NFL Films.
Right, yeah.
So he was off working, and I was working. So we never had what all of you guys do every Sunday, where you're sitting with your whole family watching an Eagles game. I've been covering it for 53 years. I never had that experience. I mean, nobody's seen more Eagles football than me, but I never had a chance to see it with my family. So this year I got to do that, and it was really fun. It was really fun. And I got to go and see my 2 grandsons play their first year of organized football, which was playing for the Drexel Hill Raiders. And I enjoyed that tremendously. And I fully did intend to retire. I really did intend to retire in May. I mean, that wasn't a head fake. I really did plan to retire.
But Tom Brady?
But when the Eagles went on their run, Michael Barkan called me up and said, "Listen, we know this team's going to the playoffs. Would you come back for the playoffs?" And I checked with my wife. I wanted to make sure she wasn't going to Giselle Bundchen me and pack her bags and leave. But she said she understood. Listen, the Eagles this was a very special year.
Yeah.
This was 14 wins. They'd never done that before. They set the team record for touchdowns. They set the record for sacks. They set the record for points. I mean, this was really a one-of-a-kind sort of year. So the opportunity to get back on it in the postseason and take that ride to the Super Bowl, I couldn't very well say no. So I came back, and I kind of had the best of both worlds, really. I mean, I had that family time in the middle of the season, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and then I still got to share in the joy and the happiness of the postseason. So all in all, it was really a hell of a year.
Awesome. Hey, Ray's gonna stick around and sign books afterwards. We've got 2 of them available. You can come up and see any member of the crew, Lauren, Henry, Emily, the big guy. I got the big guy in the house tonight. So Anthony Pigday is the big guy. So great show. I can't thank Ray enough. Anytime Lauren emails him, has a request, he's there for us. And this was a spectacular show. No?
We didn't even get to dig into all the notes that he had. I was honored to see the notepad come out.
Yeah, I did bring the yellow legal pad.
We could get top dollar for that.
With about 12 pages of notes. I thought I had a lot of notes, but you're.
Let's give it up for the great Ray Didinger, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you either at Bucks County Playhouse or uptown in Westchester. Very good. I look forward to seeing you there.
Do you go to every show?
I'm sorry?
Do you go to every show?
I will. I probably won't be at every one, but I'll be at most of them.
June 10th.
Oh, okay.
Personal request. Guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks, Jimmy Clark, the crew here at Hanrahan. Thank you. We're back here April 26th. There's a strong possibility that our guest name was mentioned tonight, so I'm not going to give away any more than that. So I'll leave it there. Lauren, we good? Emily, Henry, we good? Everybody's good? I want to thank everybody again. Dig in. The raffles go off around 8:15. Ray's going to stick around and sign books. Thank you again. We'll see you April 26th.
Thank you.